Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao-tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Every day we take a step, we understand. The closer that we get, we'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are.
Welcome to Aspire. We're going to work with something and explore something that is usually not explored or looked at, and that is, what does it mean to have a sense of inner joy? We live on the circumference of life. We wait for life to make us happy. Circumstances and conditions have to be just right so we will be happy. But I want to help you understand the way of joy. It is the way of your heart, and it is truly one of the deepest spiritual processes that there is. The title of this particular discourse is Inner Joy, and I hope you'll plan to stay tuned as we look at the depths of our heart. Come aspire with us. It seems that one of the great mysteries in life is to find the joy of our living. We seek happiness before we find joy, and we misinterpret happiness as joy, and they are not the same thing, not at all, not even remotely. We live in a very affluent society. America is a wonderfully affluent society that offers us tremendous opportunities, tremendous possibilities financially, and yet, in all of this affluence that we have missed the real meaning of our life, and many people are finding out that they are not as happy as they thought they would be when they got those things. I was listening recently to a radio program that was talking about yuppies, and it was saying that yuppies were obtaining everything that they wanted. They had their two Beamers in their garage and their $300,000 homes, and yet we're not feeling a sense of inner peace over all of it. The professional opinion that was given to these yuppies, and they took 17 of them and did a study of them all over the country, was that yuppies needed to go out and have new projects and make more money and they'd be happy again. I don't believe that for a minute. You see, what we all seek is not happiness, it is joy. Joy is not found in the things that we get, dear friend. Joy is not found in the things that we do. Joy is found in being, in the depth and in the understanding of the nature of our own being. And when that is gained, then we find that happiness is, so to speak, added unto us. But if you try to find happiness first without gaining a sense of joy about yourself, a sense of deep inner peace, you're not going to find what it is that you think you're going to get that's going to bring you security and happiness. You can get everything that you want in the physical world and be missing the real joy of life. It's interesting about us, how we live on the circumference of life, on the perimeters of life, and never get down to the deep core of life. We live on the perimeter, on the circumference of life in the way that we live for marriages and people and objects and cars and homes and money. It's just living on the perimeter, on the circumference. There's a lot of you out there who are not convinced at all that if you didn't live on the circumference of life, that you would find the joy of life in the middle. You think that you'll find it outside of yourself? You won't. And that's why we have futility and pain in life. We create it. It's because we resist the deep and abiding blessings and living lessons that are there for us, because we won't look at them, when we won't work with them, we won't live in them. I'd like to offer you some steps to the way of inner joy. These are unconventional steps. These are not steps that you can do. These are steps that you become. There's no more doing that is involved anymore. It's not a process of doing. It's a process of becoming, of being alert and aware that the greatest happiness that you want comes from the joy that your heart already has. And the greatest journey you and I will ever make is from here to here, the most difficult journey of life to our heart. The first journey is simply this, and please remember that great joy is found not in what you do, but more in what you and I don't do. And the first thing is not to let the world live in you. Master Jesus said to us to live in the world but not of it. And what he meant by that was live in this beautiful world. There are many beautiful things about this planet Earth. Enjoy its bounty and its beauty, its death and its life, its sunrises, its sunsets, but don't ever, ever live for them. Don't let them live in you. Let the world live, but remember your individuality. To live in the world, but not to let the world live in you. Very important point. There are many cruelties in this world. There are many temptations in this world. We can easily lose our sense of being and purpose by dwelling more on the things that are around us than the things that are in us. One of the major causes for pain and suffering in our life in the world today is simply that we are more mesmerized by the things that we can get around us than understanding that the true treasure lives within us. Enjoy your life, but don't cling to it. Don't think that your life began and ends on this planet. It begins in you and it is eternal and has very little to do with what goes on around you, more what goes on within you. The second thing, work on becoming less desirous. Now, I'm not saying you should take what it is you want and stuff it down and say, I don't want it. But when you can begin to see that there is nothing on this planet that anyone can give you, there is no amount of money, there are no objects, there is nothing anyone can give you that will make you a better person. That being, so to speak, a better person comes from finding yourself as a spiritual being. That's when something beautiful can happen to us. Desirous people always turn into ambitious people. Desire deviates us from the path, and ambition is a deviation within us. We become very devious. I've never met a person who was not desirous who was also not ambitious. And I've never met a person who was ambitious who was not devious. They would do anything to get their way, to get what it is that they think they wanted and the things that they think they needed, even if it meant being dishonest or even unkind at times. Watch your desire. Watch and see if it doesn't take you along the pathway where you forget about yourself as a spiritual being. You forget what the real reason is for being here on this plane. You and I are not here to get more. We're not here to have more toys. You've seen the little bumper sticker that says the object of the game in life is he who at the end has the most toys wins. Not so. The object is there is no end. And the most important thing that we achieve is nothing in the physical. It is something in our hearts. Greed is another one. Learning to let go of our greed brings great inner joy. And the way we get rid of that is to understand one word. A word that very few people ever really understand. I don't know why. It is the word enough. It is the word enough. The word enough is a very important one. It means that it is sufficient. You and I have enough. Don't live in excess. Excess desire, excess greed, excess want. Don't live in limitation either. That too is another form of the word sufficient or enough. Learn what is enough. It is enough to love. It is enough to understand. It is enough to do your best in a day. It is enough to give of your heart. Never live in excess and never live in poverty. Find the middle way within you. Those are the most important things that we achieve, the middle way. The last thing I want to share with you, live in your silence. You and I will not find our joy living on the noisy circumference of life in the outer world. We will find great joy only as we practice living in the silence of our being. And that means in silence we learn to trust ourselves for who we are, for what we are. You are not going to be a better person because you drive an expensive car. You're not going to be a better person because you have more money, or you have that beautiful woman or that beautiful man hanging on your arm. You will be a happier, more fulfilled person when you find a sense of who you are as a spiritual being. When you begin to see yourself as a creature of excellence, of love, of compassion, of great understanding and spirituality. That's when life begins to have an inner joy. A security and a peace seems to maintain itself within us. There are many people in life who are still going to go after the treasure that perishes, as Jesus said, the meat that perishes. They're going to go after things that are very temporary. You can tell the difference between true joy and just the circumference of happiness. The things that make you happy are fleeting. They are temporary. But the things that will bring you great joy, great insight, great peace, they are the qualities that make up the eternal. They are unconditional love in you and in me. And when it becomes more important that we make our effort inward than we do in making our effort outward, we find a new sense of beginning, a new sense of purpose, and a new sense of living. That's what Aspire is all about, to help us all understand that the possibilities for life are inviting us. They are not outside of us. The God, the happiness, and the fulfillment that you seek is within you. Keep your vision on your inner self. Don't be looking outside of yourself for things that perish. It is the eternal qualities that we really seek. Thank you for letting me be with you. We'll be right back.
Just believe we can be everything.
I always enjoy getting your mail, and of course on this particular program we're going to be answering some of the questions that many of you have written in. First one is, why is it that I find happiness so difficult to achieve? I work very hard in the world and do everything for my family that is possible, and still it never seems to be enough. There's always so much more to do. What's wrong? Whenever we are struggling for happiness, it's because we think that somehow we've got to do something to make ourselves happy. We've got to be doing something for other people. We've got to be getting something. Look at your happiness for a moment. Look at yourself when you're bored. It's because you think you have nothing to do. And yet there is so much of us that is left undone that really does need a lot of work. We're looking to please other people, to be entertained, to get more for ourselves, to hold on to things. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. There's nothing more that you can do for people to make them happy. You can behave, you can act like they want you to, you can do many things for them, and if your happiness depends upon what other people are thinking of you, in pleasing other people, in doing for other people, to try to find your own happiness, it'll never be enough. There's always going to be lots of things to do in life, lots that will need to be done and left undone. Your joy, seek that first. Seek to find a joy in your heart. Seek to find spontaneity again. We've lost our childlike spontaneity. We have impressed upon ourselves that everything has to be perfect in our world and then we'll be happy. We'll be able to entertain other people and make them happy. Stop that. Stop trying to make your happiness a state of your condition in the physical, and realize that your happiness is a state of being in your spiritual. And when we make the effort inward more than the effort outward, that's when we're going to find a meaning and a significance to our life. You'll never find enough in life to make you happy. You'll never find it. Choose the better part, the happiness that lives within you, the non-doing, rather than always the doing. Seek to balance them out. Be compassionate. Do loving things, but don't overdo it. Please remember, it is the silent gift of your heart that makes the gift of your action such a blessing. And if there is resentment in the most loving things that you do, you dispel a poison in everything that you do. And no matter how beautiful or how right or how appropriate everything that you make may seem to be, there'll still be something missing. Happiness is within. It is not something we do. Another question. This is a little lengthy, so be patient. I started out my life like so many people, not having very much in my life. I spent 15 years working at becoming a success in my career. My business has been a very adventurous experience. It is now beginning to flourish, especially the last 5 years. I've gotten most everything that it is that I want, and still something is missing. I feel like I'm on a bicycle or some sort of treadmill of success. I'm not sure whether to get off it or stay on it. I'm in a quandary as to what to do. What would you suggest? I make no suggestions. I give no advice, but I can say that a lot of us have found ourselves at this point where we've gotten everything that it is that we're supposed to have. We've kind of entered into the promised land of milk and honey, and somehow it doesn't seem to be enough. And as this person is stating here, he feels he's on a treadmill of success. We have made life such a problem. Even success is a problem to us. And I'm beginning now in my own life, like many of you I'm sure, to begin to drop that word success. There is no such thing as a success. Who is a success? The person who has gone out into their life and gotten everything that they wanted, everything that they thought would make them happy, only to find that in the process they've lost themselves, the real person of them in that process. I think the wiser we become, the more inward bound we are, the more introspective we are. It's not the things in the outer that make us happy. It's who we are that really makes us happy, and discovering who we are. And whether we are aware of it or not, and I'll give you a little secret, and it really is an important one. In everything that you and I do in our life, no matter how outward it is, or who we're trying to please, or what's going on in the physical world, there's one thing that we're really after. We're trying to find ourselves. We're doing it in some very indirect ways, but we spend our whole life trying to find ourselves. We're trying to go inward by going outward. Stop it for a moment. Why not make the path from the in directly focused towards the heart? Why go outside of ourselves? You don't have to. Spend more time meditating. Spend more time in your silence. Let go of some of that greed, and as I said to you earlier in the program, learn the meaning of the word enough. When it's sufficient, when you've done your very best, when you don't need to have more to make you better. Those are very important qualities. We've all been on the treadmill of what I call success, where we run and run and run and try to get everything it is that we want, only to find that everything we want is as empty as if we never had it. So stop for a moment. The meaning of your life is not found in the things that you do. Please remember this. The joy of your life is found out in who you are, in what you are. Make that the effort inward. Next question, and this is kind of an interesting one. I've heard you talk on many occasions about the disadvantages of desire. Can I have my cake and eat it too? I'm assuming that what this person is saying is, can I be desirous and get what I want and be spiritual at the same time? And the answer to that is, of course, no, you can't. You know, as long as you and I live in our brain, we will always feel that there is something more that needs to be done, that we could have a little bit more, that we could be a perfectionist. The most egotistical people I know are perfectionists. They are people who feel very insecure. I have been a perfectionist a long time, I know. I seek no longer that perfection. The flaws are beautiful. Enjoy your flaws. Enjoy your shortcomings. Enjoy the imperfections. Nature is not perfect. The most beautiful flower has an imperfection in it. The most beautiful thing in life seems to have some sort of imperfection in it. It is the way of all things in this life. The real perfection is learning to understand and tolerate the imperfections. Desire is definitely an imperfection in us. And when we are driven by our desires, we're never going to be happy. We'll never be able to look at the little imperfections in life and go, "Ah, there's an imperfection. No big deal, there it is. To drop it, to carry on with our life. Tolerance is very important. Replace your desire with a sense of tolerance, a sense of compassion, a sense of understanding. Drop your desire. You can't have your desire and have your cake too. It's impossible. You'll either get all the things you want in the physical world and starve yourself to death spiritually, or you will drop desire and move into your heart. And all the outer things that you want will later be added unto you. But seek ye first the kingdom of heaven within you, and all the outer things will be added. We have one last question here. When will I know when I'm happy? The answer to that really is quite simple. When it's not a question anymore. When I'm asking myself, am I happy, and when will I know it, I'm obviously on the wrong path. Happiness is not a question. It is a state of being, and it is found within you. So my dear friend, whoever wrote this, when you as an individual aren't asking the question anymore, when will I be happy and will I know it, but when it's not a question anymore, then you will have it. Happiness is found in spontaneity, in the vivacious attitude to just pick up and accept life just as it is, without having to change it, without having to move it, without having to manipulate it, without having to adjust it. Spiritual people are happy because they're not manipulating their lives. People who are very intellectual, people who are very heady, are always unhappy. They can't accept the imperfections of life. They can't accept things as they are. They're always trying to make them better rather than letting them be just the way they are. Life is going to take its own course, my dear friend. You can't change that. The only thing that you and I can do is seek to understand how it works and learn to flow with it. Don't waste your energy trying to make things what they're not. Learn to understand things as they are, and you will find joy and happiness. Well, I hope you enjoyed this program on inner joy. I can't help but think of this corny commercial that I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, where these guys are sitting around a campfire drinking beer, and they're looking at each other because they bought this very expensive brand of beer, and they look at each other and they go, it doesn't get any better than this. That's the way we are. We have to have something make us happy in this world. If it's not a beer, it's got to be a person or a new car or the acceptance of other people. And it just doesn't really work that way. You can try to have everything in your physical life please you and have the home, the car, everything. Be living on the circumference of life and miss it entirely. My dear friend, the real joy of life is not in the things that you own, but in the person that you are. And on this particular program, we have sought to offer you some insight into that. It's very difficult to break our conditioning, to let go of the things that we are used to being held to, such things as religion and fear, anger, society. But the more we learn to let go of those things and flow in the Tao of life, the more we begin to find that in that let go mode, we begin to see life as it is, the beauty and the significance of it. So let go this week, and you will find that the real happiness of life is the inner joy that has always lived within you. It is the Tao of life. It is the Tao of your living. Thanks for being with us.
We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or